I can't say thank you enough for what they've done. And I'm sure there's a lot of people think exactly the same.
For the community, it's been an absolute godsend, really.
Welcome. Come and see us, we're not that bad.
So I call it our VIP hospital.
It's a haven for care as you would like to be treated at home, but with the expertise of the medical input. It's a home from home.
Many community hospitals around the country have been suffering with government cutbacks and people migrating back into district general hospitals. The ones that are very successful are the ones where the community stands up and stands behind its hospital.
I think it's an amazing memorial to the people who died in the war. To think you've got a hospital helping people for 100 years after you've died is great, isn't it?
We're just very lucky to have it. And to think that it's been here 100 years is quite staggering.
Oh yes, whenever you speak to anyone, they would always speak with great fondness, whether they'd been brought here as a child.
Yeah, my name's Claire Peters. I've lived in Rye all my life. It was a community hospital and it was always there for the people of Rye.
You've got a lot of memories about being stitched up, having had your eyes split open and things like that.
I'm actually 90 in 4 weeks' time, so I've been around it for quite some time.
Yeah, my aunt was in there, my mum worked there, 2 of my other aunts worked there, my sister worked up there at one stage.
Did you know that Rye Hospital is for everyone?
Oh, some people think it's a private hospital.
It's probably an old people's home, but it's much more sophisticated than that.
And so get that message out there to what we're here for, really.
You know, it is a rehab unit and it is for everyone.
And why it's worth keeping it going for another 100 years.
I think it is extremely important for the people in Rye.
Absolutely, amazingly important.
It's an amazing asset that most places have lost.
Rye Hospital is an intermediate care hospital, so its mission, mainly it does 2 things. When somebody's had an operation at a district general hospital, after 5 or 6 days they want that bed freed up. And many of them are not ready to go home yet, so they need occupational therapy or physiotherapy. And the second thing we do is what we call step up.
It is that middle of the road from where we try to stop people going into the main acute hospital. We will look at what that person is doing now, what they can functionally do now, but then what they need to do for going home purpose. So they call that the sort of setting the goals.
And then we provide end-of-life care. They're the main things that we do in the hospital.
So we're very much based on lots of encouragement, lots of positive affirmations that yes, we can do this.
Throughout its history, the hospital has touched many lives. Pete Dudley is one of thousands of people that have experienced the care here. He now raises funds for the hospital.
Her name was Kathleen Gledhill, but she liked to be called Kathy with a K. Yeah. They were completely amazing. Nothing was any trouble to them. Absolutely nothing was any trouble.
Tony Pearce, born just over the road, been at Rye Harbour for the last 22 years, so not gone very far.
Tony, Graham and Jeremy are from the Rye Rugby Club.
We used to raise money for the hospital on a regular basis.
You know, you ask me why are these things important. I think it's about community, it's about making sure that local people have facilities for in times of need.
When you reach an age where you depend on the hospital a bit more, you don't want to be travelling half an hour either way. Whichever way you go, it's at least half an hour.
To get to something that's just local to you and seems to understand you, because it's part of the staff are part of the community as well as the patients, and they'll know a lot of the local people.
It meant I could come up every day and go home every night.
We've had a Canberra patient who, every time I'm, out in the streets, they, thanks for helping my dad again, and so that's rewarding. Yeah. That's lovely.
It is meant to be, the mission is bringing services closer.
They're giving the care in the local area. That's special.
Yeah, brilliant.
I'm using special a lot because it's true.
Healthcare on Rye Hill is centuries old.
I think it's the most amazing thing when you think it's 1,000 years of caring for people in this area on this one healthy site overlooking the channel.
Quite a lot of history with it, you know.
Even the Dragon's Teeth tank traps are preserved from the Second World War. It started with the leper hospital of St Bartholomew.
The abbot, Henry de Roos, came in 1103 and decided to knock down the old Anglo-Saxon church and build the beautiful St Mary's that we have now. But one of their things was also to have a hospital. Within a few years, they built a hospital within their lands on Rye Hill, which was healthy. It had its chapel, it had a male ward and a female ward, and was self-sufficient, really.
Rye Hill was the base for many troops over the centuries to follow.
They would camp here, easy access to the port, and always those troops had a medical element.
After the First World War, a new building was required.
It's Rye Memorial Hospital because historically it was linked to soldiers in the First World War.
There was this huge outpouring of support for the families that were left, and also to try and ensure that they were not forgotten. They decided on building a hospital. A lady, Miss Curtis, gave the land, and then Lady McElraith from Winchelsea decided she would give some money towards the building of it. Everybody joined in, saving money, raising money to build it, and in fact it was successfully completed by about September 1921.
The bell tower from the original building was preserved and is always rung on Remembrance Day.
It had 2 wards and a little operating theatre and a private ward, and Princess Louise, daughter of Queen Victoria, came, paraded round Rye, signed her name in the town hall, and the whole of the route was lined with veteran soldiers, guides, brownies, you name it, all the way up to the hospital, and she opened it.
It was community run because the NHS didn't exist at that time. It was community run up until 1948, and then the NHS took it over. And after a district general hospital was built in Hastings in 1989, and they decided community hospitals should be shut.
They were so devastated in 1989 when they decided they were going to close it, almost out of the blue.
And the town itself really were quite angry, I think, and upset. They felt it was their hospital, and they were really annoyed to lose that.
The whole community didn't want to see something as important as that, obviously, closing.
And there was a wonderful lady called Mrs. Muriel Mayer, lived in Rye. The idea of losing this one building bothered Mrs. Mayer. We decided we'd do something about it.
My mother was Muriel Ann Mayer. If anybody was going to get this through, it would be my mother, because she believed in this when everybody else fell away. As the story goes, that my mother rang Sir Paul McCartney, as was Paul and Linda in those days, and he came on board and they became absolutely wonderful support.
You can't get any larger than one of the Beatles, can you?
It caught the imagination of everybody.
We needed someone like that behind it. That was the spearhead, really, of the campaign.
Also, our vice president was Spike Milligan. He used to drive in his Mini up the side of the pitch, get out, and he'd be in his pyjamas and slippers, and he'd cheer us on, and great fun to have him along, and obviously he was involved.
Immediately there was a huge outcry.
The whole town rose up.
It just rocketed, and then obviously it went national.
The McCartneys, who live in nearby Peasmarsh, led the fight to save Rye's Cottage Hospital.
I remember thinking at the time that it was just a piece of history in Rye that was just incredible to witness.
We raised £5 million in order to build the new hospital.
And that's how we eventually got it through and managed to succeed. And Paul and Linda McCartney dug the first sod. Oh, we were so thrilled to have a celebration march.
I was 20, yeah.
I was there.
So I can remember it pretty well. The people were coming up the hill and holding banners and they were laughing, singing, and it was an incredible atmosphere.
I know there was a lot of noise.
The whole town was as one.
The idea was that the rugby club, we all donned, club shirts.
And act as security for Paul and Linda. There we go, that's our disguise. That was the uniform of the day, rugby shirts and sunglasses. Men in black, but red and white.
Yeah, I look mean.
The town was packed. There were some people who turned up with albums for him to sign.
And Paul took a glance at it, took his pen and signed it, and this lad went away with the biggest smile you've ever seen in your life.
My mother went up in the car following Sir Paul and Linda, and she was always chuffed about that.
I just think we're so lucky that a whole group of people made so much effort to keep it open.
Huge boost to the community.
It made people realise that when people come together, what they can achieve.
Linda and Paul McCartney leading a celebration march through Rye. To the people of this historic Sussex town, the former Beadle and his wife are local heroes.
It was all with a little help from their friends. The original hospital on the site was shut down 4 years ago. Now it's local people plus public cash who've made the difference.
But people should talk about it. It's wrong. We don't like that. Finally, they got together. As you can see, the whole bloody town. It's people power.
Same for me, it just shows you what people power can do. If the government won't do it, if the people really try, they can do it themselves and get onto it.
Sleepy Little Rye was all of a sudden headline news.
It's smiles all round in Rye, particularly for the VIP guests. For Paul and Linda McCartney, the official opening of the town's new medical centre is the realisation of a dream.
We feel very lucky and very happy because originally we went down to a town hall meeting and we saw a lot of people saying they needed a hospital here. There had to be one, they insisted there would be one. But unfortunately at the time the government was saying no, and so we had to fight, and we fought and we struggled. So it's a fantastic day to see it all come true. And seeing the patients in here, and they're loving it, they think it's like a 5-star hotel. In fact, we're thinking of moving in.
And today it was officially opened by Princess Margaret.
Linda has a legacy in the hospital. Her art has been part of reception since it was reopened in 1995. Sir Paul still sends flowers to the hospital every month.
Whenever we go out into the community and ask for support for fundraising, we have people who step forward and help us to reach our goals, to make the investments we need to make.
Just do what I can where I can for them. I decided to do something with my hair and my beard, and I had it all dyed, tied and dyed as it were. So I looked like a pirate, and I sported that look for a week for the hospital. I raised just under £420 with that one.
We're very, very fortunate in Rye and Winchelsea and the district at large that people are very, very committed to our hospital.
The hospital is supported by the Friends, a team of volunteers whose help is invaluable.
The Friends are not just about raising money. They are about belonging to the hospital and being a community. Some volunteer, some give us very substantial amounts of money. So we're very fortunate.
The hospital benefits from a brand new hub, a meeting place where activities are held.
We felt that it was a very important addition. Many, many people in the community are suffering at the moment. The carers are suffering because they have no breaks, and they want the opportunity to be able to come and bring people up to the hub and be able to have some free time.
So it's really important that they come and have conversations and spend time rehabilitating, really, after being shut up, I think.
And in October, we sit down and we start the development of a 60-bed care home behind the GP practice, so that we have a composite community programme to look after everyone in our community.
Which will be the final piece in this jigsaw of care for Rye people. Final piece in the puzzle.
Together every day.
it's been great, and hopefully it will carry on being there.
A happy centenary day to the Rye and Winchelsea District Memorial Hospital.